So, Rob's in Chelsea and Westminster. Can you kind of talk me through the initial procedures, the plastic procedures that would have happened to him, and how you achieved that? I know we touched on it. We were talking last evening about it, but could you kind of just run me through those procedures again?
Yeah. So, a deep burn is essentially dead skin, and that dead skin is in a way toxic. So one of the priorities with modern burn care is to remove as much of the dead tissue as you can as quickly as possible. Now there are limits to how much skin you can remove at one time, and a lot of that is around blood loss. So you remove dead tissue down to healthy tissue, and the healthy tissue bleeds. And you can go through sometimes dozens of units of blood in a single operation, and a big burn excision, say a 40-45% burn like what Rob had, could take 8-10 hours sometimes to do. And then you have to cover the raw tissue with something, and there are a variety of things you can use. The ideal cover is a patient's own skin, and you can take a small piece of skin graft and mesh it like a fishnet stocking to expand it to a bigger area, and the measurements, the expansion we can do is, we call it 3-to-1, so you can take a piece of skin and expand it 3 times, or 6-to-1, so it's 6 times, or 9-to-1. The more you expand it, the more fragile it becomes, and then you've got gaps between the fishnet skin that then need to heal, and those gaps will leak fluid and blood. So there are different things we can use. One of them is cadaveric skin, so skin taken from somebody who's agreed to donate their skin after their death, from pig skin, and then there's some artificial biosynthetic materials that we can use. Or you can just put a simple dressing on an open wound. And so Rob would have had a series of those coverings put on, but we would have tried to have removed as much of the dead skin to burn as possible. And sometimes it takes 2, sometimes 3 burns consultants. So I may well have been in on some of the original operations on Rob, but at the time, we're a busy burn service. We operate every single day on people, so I don't have a clear memory of operating on Rob.
And yesterday we talked about the first time about why you didn't remove skin from his scalp. Because, I mean, talk to me about that procedure, because
when you're trying to cover somebody's wounds, and it's a large area, there is a school of thought that you use every single donor site every single time. That's the mantra that I was taught by the burn surgeon who I trained with in Texas in the United States. Every donor, every time. And that includes potentially taking skin from the scrotum, and potentially taking skin from the scalp. And the scalp, actually, if you imagine the entirety of the scalp and expand that 6 times with a mesher, that's a huge piece of skin that you have to cover. You can cover an entire chest or an entire back with the skin taken from the scalp. However, you do have to shave the hair to access the skin, to take a skin graft. And a lot of our nursing staff...
When you say shave, you don't mean with a razor, do you? You mean remove...
So, I mean, shave the hair with a razor,
yeah,
and then you shave, you take a skin graft,
right,
of just a partial thickness of the skin. The skin heals, and the roots of the hairs are very deep down, so the hair all grows back.
Oh, right, okay.
But quite often the nursing staff are quite protective of the patient's identity, and a lot of the nursing staff have not been trained. A lot of our senior nursing staff haven't been trained in that very aggressive philosophy of harvesting skin grafts.
Okay.
And so it would have been Jorge's decision to harvest the scalp or not harvest the scalp, but my understanding is the decision was made not to shave his hair and harvest from his scalp, and that would have potentially delayed his healing perhaps by weeks.